Today is Wednesday, March 4. Welcome to the news on PBCJ. I am Simone Absalom. National Water Commission says water restrictions have been extended for sections of the corporate area as the storage level at the Mona Reservoir continues to decline. The NWC says with the forecast for continued dry periods, the adjusted restrictions are necessary to safeguard supply during the coming months. A news release Tuesday from the NWC said effective Wednesday, supply areas served by the Mona treatment plant will be suspended 1 hour earlier at 8 p.m. and end at 5 a.m. The restriction will also apply to customers served by the Hope filter plants. The NWC said the Mona Reservoir is now at 67.6% of capacity. It was at 82% on January 29. Some of the affected areas include Hope Road, Ligani, sections of Mona, Old Hope Road, Lady Musgrave Road, sections of New Kingston, Halfway Tree and Crossroads, Hackley Park Road, Maxfield Avenue, Malines Road and downtown Kingston. The World Bank unveiled a $12 billion aid package on Tuesday that will provide fast-track funds to help countries combat the coronavirus outbreak. The goal is to provide fast, effective action that responds to country needs. President David Malpass told reporters that it's critical to recognize the extra burden on poor countries, least equipped in the struggle to prevent the spread of the COVID-19 virus. The funds, some of which are targeted to the world's poorest nations, can be used for medical equipment or health services and will provide expertise and policy advice. Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett will be meeting with cruise line representatives on Friday to discuss forward bookings in light of the coronavirus COVID-19 threat.
I'm going to meet with the cruise lines on Friday, and we will have a better sense, of how things are looking down the road. At the moment, I must tell you the truth, it's highly iterative. So we are all out there trying to learn more about what's happening, and to adjust in relation to the knowledge and information that comes to us on a timely basis.
The Health Ministry has issued interim guidelines for cruise ships visiting Jamaica to combat the threat of the virus to the country. Health authorities blocked one cruise vessel from OWTU's St. Anne last week Tuesday due to concerns about the virus. The Health Ministry said the MSC Maraviglia was turned away after it was discovered that a sick person had been quarantined on board. Last Friday, Italian nationals were prevented from disembarking Carnival Cruise Line's Costa Luminosa in OWTU. Italy is among the 5 countries for which Jamaica has now issued travel restrictions. The others are China, South Korea, Singapore and Iran. Responding to questions at Parliament's Standing Finance Committee Tuesday about the impact of COVID-19, which has now spread to 64 countries, the Minister of Tourism had this to say.
As it stands now, bookings are showing a holding pattern, but we know that that is not likely to prevail within the next 2 to 3 months. We think that there will be, for example, Italy, as you know, the situation in Italy, we have had to return flights, and then bookings have literally ceased from that market. We also see where there is a softening generally from the continental Europe side, Germany and France and so on, right? The UK holds for the moment. The US is holding well, and so is Canada. South America also is holding. So this is why we could report a 5.2% growth for the year so far, because they're holding. However, we are very conscious, and we as you know, we monitor the market every day. And we're in touch with our partners, so we see when the shakings begin, and we will be able to adapt accordingly.
The minister said there is, however, a silver lining.
Beyond everything else, remember, there is a silver lining in relation, for example, to cruise and summer, bearing in mind that Europe and Asia are the usual strong areas and the Mediterranean for summer. But we feel that the Caribbean is going to be a beneficiary based on what's happening there. So we could see some changes, particularly with cruise, in an upward way.
It's now full steam ahead for the $950 million Port Royal Street Coastal Revetment project, which will see the implementation of a new 1-kilometer composite area wall and armor stone revetment structure. On Tuesday, Prime Minister Andrew Holness broke ground for the project to begin this month. Holness said the project is another milestone in Jamaica's sustainable development and highlights how the government is working assiduously to position Kingston as a resilient city. The project will also see the upgrading of draining features as well as the rehabilitation of rising of the existing roadway. Additionally, a 4.7-kilometer wide boardwalk will also be constructed to improve the site's aesthetic and promote recreational activity along the shoreline. An electronic management system known as iRequest will be put in place to monitor and maintain the general upkeep of police facilities island-wide. Minister of National Security, Dr. Horace Jang, says it will ensure that there is effective maintenance and continuous monitoring so that we can hold persons accountable. The technology, developed by the Ministry's Information Technology and Services branch, streamlines the requisition process within the Jamaica Constabulary Force.
As a result of this increasing use of technology, we have established a technology branch within the police force, commanded by an Assistant Commissioner of Police, to ensure the police not only have the equipment, but that they have a team to manage, to maintain, and to optimize its use at all times. This is a new concept introduced by the new Commissioner of Police during the course of this financial year.
Addressing members of the Diplomatic Corps at Diplomatic Week 2020 held at the Jamaica Pegasus Hotel Tuesday, Dr. Chang said the system will allow designated officers to request essential items such as furniture and equipment. According to the ministry, the software development phase has been completed, and the ministry said it's now moving to identify a police station within the corporate area for pilot testing. The pilot is expected to commence this month. There has been a 12% increase in murders so far this year. According to the latest data from the Police High Command, 233 cases of homicide were recorded between January 1 and February 29, compared to 209 during the same period last year. The St. Andrew South Police Division, which is under a state of emergency, recorded 28 murders, the highest for the 2-month period, followed by St. Andrew North with 27, St. Catherine South with 22, and Clarendon with 20. There was a 285% increase in murders in St. Andrew North. In a recent interview at his offices at Jamaica House, Prime Minister Andrew Holness addressed concerns over the country's high crime rate.
There are many Jamaicans who are probably feeling this sense of concern about where we are with crime. The truth is, as I've said on many occasions, that our crime situation has evolved currently to be over and above our established capacity to address it. And what we're doing now is, in an intense way, putting in place resources, systems, and personnel integrated with technology to address the crime situation.
Mr. Holness urged patience as the government continues to pursue the strategy of a state of emergencies. He said that the government will also continue to beef up investments in the nation's security.
We have used one particular strategy of states of public emergency, which has helped significantly in attenuating, that is, reducing the frequency and intensity of crime, lowering the volume a little bit. And whilst we have this respite, we are using it to improve our police station and the conditions under which policemen work, We're using it to introduce greater technology that is going on. We have improved the fleet of the police force, including tracking devices on cars, and we're integrating more technology, including our cameras. We're doing everything possible to increase the capacity of the police force to be able to handle and reduce the level of crime that we have. And I think you're seeing it unfolding successfully in the number of gangs that we have been able to target and bring before the courts. This condition did not happen yesterday. It did not happen last year. This is an accumulation of over 30 years of underinvestment in our national security apparatus. It is going to take time to reduce it. But I'm confident that we are at a good place now in terms of the investments that we have made, and those investments will bear fruit.
And St. James and Westmoreland, which are under a state of emergency, recorded major reductions in murders so far this year. There were reductions in all other major crimes such as shootings, rape, aggravated assault, robbery, break-ins and larceny. The Jamaican diaspora in Lauderhill, Florida in the United States is invited to attend the second Access Jamaica Expo from Friday, March 6 to Sunday, March 8, being held by the Passport, Immigration and Citizenship Agency, PICA. The event is being held in collaboration with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade and the Consulate General of Jamaica, Miami. PICA's Chief Executive Officer, Andrew Winter, said the agency will be offering passport application and renewal, citizenship application, and unconditional landing services to attendees of the Expo. The annual Jamaica Rum Festival held last weekend was a success, and Minister of Tourism Edmund Bartlett wants the festival to be expanded to Montego Bay, St. James. He says festivals are a big part of what brings people to a destination, and as such, he would like to see 2 events held next year. One in Kingston and one in Montego Bay. Minister Bartlett noted that the 2-day festival, which is a celebration of rum, the 3rd most consumed liquid on earth after water and coffee, has become a signature event in Jamaica and needs to be marketed to the world. He told JIS News that the gastronomy is a key part of the linkages network that underpins growth targets for the tourism sector, aimed at attracting 5 million visitors by 2021. Generating $5 billion in earnings and increasing total direct jobs to 125,000 while adding 15,000 new hotel rooms. The other elements of the network are manufacturing, agriculture, sports and entertainment, health and wellness, shopping and knowledge. In Living Healthy this week, we continue our lessons on being heart healthy and making good food choices when shopping. One study found that for each additional 12-ounce soda children drink each day, or sugary drink, their risk of becoming obese increases by 60%. Adults and children who consume sugary drinks regularly, 1 or 2 cans per day or more, have a 26% greater risk of developing type 2 diabetes than those who rarely have such drinks. Now let's hear from an advocate for effective national efforts on healthy lifestyles. Okay, so I'm here with Ms. Deborah Chen. She is the Executive Director of the Heart Foundation. Thanks so much for agreeing to speak with us.
Thank you for having us and for helping us to get our heart healthy messages out.
Okay, so what is the Heart Foundation all about?
Well, we're about promoting heart health in Jamaica. Unfortunately, heart disease is a leading cause of death in Jamaica, notwithstanding what you may hear on the news, but that is the reality. And we are trying to make a difference in terms of bringing down those rates. Now, there's many risk factors for heart disease, and some of the risk factors for heart disease affect other illnesses also, such as being overweight can also contribute to cancer and diabetes. Lack of physical activity contribute to many illnesses. Smoking of cigarettes causes many illnesses. Uncontrolled uncontrolled hypertension and uncontrolled diabetes is also a risk factor. So there are many risk factors. So what we do is we screen people. Well, two things. One, we have health education like what we're doing now. Your program is very helpful in this way. Then we go into the communities and we screen people so they can know their numbers, know what their risk is. And if we find a problem, we help them to get that remedied in whatever way is necessary.
When you say know your numbers, we at Blueprint, we like to break it down for the common man. When you say screen, are you talking about tests? And when you say know your numbers, what exactly are you alluding to?
So screening means test for heart disease, blood pressure check. Doesn't hurt, takes a minute. We have the ECG, that is where you get some little suction cups on your chest, like at the Heart Foundation. Doesn't hurt, takes maybe 10 minutes, and that tells us about the electrical activity in your heart, which does give the doctor some information as to how your heart is working. Then we do some blood tests. Now the ones we do for screening are just finger pricks. It's not a big needle in your arm, just a little finger prick. 1 drop of blood can tell us your blood sugar, 1 drop could tell us your cholesterol, and so on. We also weigh you, and we measure your height. And that number gives us an indication of if you're the right weight for your height, to tell us if you're overweight and by how much and what needs to be done. Then we look at all of that. We ask you your family history, what medicines you're on, any signs and symptoms you have had recently. And then we make a determination as to what exactly is the next step. Maybe you're fine. Maybe everything comes back perfect and we say, good, keep going, come back in another year. Or we might say, oh, you're a little overweight or very overweight. Why not see one of our nutritionists? Or maybe the heart test comes back abnormal and we might say, okay, you can take this result to your doctor or see our doctor, and they may refer you to a cardiologist, of which we have 5 at the Heart Foundation. So it depends it depends what is found. But the main thing is, once you're screened with us, we will stay with you until everything is sorted out one way or the other.
Okay, and we can just walk in from the road and get this done.
Yes, you can just walk into 28 Beachwood Avenue, no appointment necessary. Once we do all the tests, then we take it from there. If you need advanced tests, such as an ultrasound of the heart, called an echocardiogram, for example, then we could make an appointment. But the actual initial screening, no appointment, no letter necessary.
And is it a minimal cost, or is this, kind of uptownish?
No, it's $2,000 for the heart test, the ECG, and that would include the blood pressure and the body mass index. And then there's various prices for the different blood tests, the finger pricks.
What if your doctor refers you to get an advanced test? Can we come to the Heart Foundation, or do we have to go to the hospital?
No, if you get a referral, you can come to the Heart Foundation. Whether you want an echocardiogram, which is an ultrasound of the heart, stress echocardiogram, stress treadmill, or if you have a pacemaker and the pacemaker needs to be evaluated, all of those advanced tests are done at the Heart Foundation.
Let's backstep. What's a pacemaker?
A pacemaker is a little device that sometimes a cardiologist may insert in somebody's heart if they're having a problem with their heartbeat. Sometimes people's electrical activity in the heart is not being conducted properly, and it causes the heart to beat at a slower rate than it should. So in some cases, they put a little device under the skin and it trips in if the heart goes below a certain rate. So when persons have a pacemaker in, they need to be evaluated regularly, and we offer that service. But we also want to give out some information about how to read a label, because even if somebody knows that let us say a sugary sweetened beverage is not good for them, but they take up a drink in the supermarket that has a lot of pretty pictures of fruits on it, and they're not really sure is this healthy or not, they would need to know to read the label. And in that case, the thing to read would be the sugar content, the added sugar content.
Living Healthy's Heart Healthy Month feature continues next week. The US dollar is being traded at $136.31, down by 28 cents. And that's according to the Bank of Jamaica's daily exchange trading summary. The Canadian dollar is being traded at $102.18, down from $102.85. While the British pound sterling ended trading at $175, up from $172.89. In regional news, Trinidad and Tobago's Health Minister, Terence Dale Singh, is dismissing reports of a shortage of N95 masks for health professionals in the public sector. He was responding to questions from the opposition in the Senate on Tuesday. Karen Cozier-Phillip of TTT News has more.
This week, newspaper reports claimed that nurses were concerned that they did not have an adequate supply of disposable face masks as the country prepares for the COVID-19 virus. In the upper house on Tuesday, the health minister set the record straight.
We have more than enough stock, And in the event that an epidemic or an outbreak should happen in Trinidad and Tobago, as a signatory and a financial member to PAHO and WHO, Trinidad and Tobago has access to PAHO's strategic stock of emergency PPE in Panama, which can be rushed to Trinidad within 48 hours if required.
Minister Dayal Singh said there is also a shipment of an additional 25,000 masks from supplier 3M, which is expected to arrive in 1 week. And according to the minister, it doesn't make sense to distribute supplies until absolutely necessary.
It will be made available to nurses, attendants, doctors, all frontline people when required. It makes little sense to distribute it now when there is no outbreak, when there is no confirmed case.
Minister Dayal Singh said inaccurate reports have also sullied the name and reputation of UWI Principal Brian Copeland. He's calling for responsible reporting when it comes to the coronavirus.
Because the coronavirus is not yellow, it's not red. It doesn't belong to the PSA. It doesn't belong to business. Let us stand firm and fight this common enemy with resolve. I am urging the national community, let's all be responsible. Because I am taking 40 calls a day now, refuting social media.
The Ministry of Health will host a media conference on Wednesday to give an update on the country's preparedness for COVID-19. Karen Cozier-Phillip, TTT News.
Still in Trinidad and Tobago, the Oilfields Workers Trade Union is stepping up its call to revisit the new gas pricing arrangement between government and energy giant BP, which it says is having an adverse effect on the Twin Republic. On Tuesday, the union delivered a letter addressed to the BP CEO Bernard Looney. TTT's Stacey-Ann Providence gives us the details.
That the gas that we are talking about belongs to Trinidad and Tobago, the people of Trinidad and Tobago.
With that reminder, OWTU head Ansel Roger issued another call for the new pricing formula agreed to by the government and BP in January be reviewed and renegotiated.
Through that negotiations, BP is now receiving some 100% increase for the gas produced. And as a result of that, the gas users throughout the country, but more specifically and particularly at the industrial estate in Point Lisas, those plants can no longer operate. It is no longer viable for them to operate.
Mr. Roger maintains the deal was not in the best interest of Trinidad and Tobago, and it has resulted in a series of plant closures with the imminent threat of shutting down the entire Point Lisas industrial estate.
These companies are finding it impossible to pay this onerous 100% price increase agreed by NGC and BP. Therefore, this has resulted in a series of plant closures with the imminent threat of shutting down of the entire Point Lisas industrial estate. For example, Yara International has already closed one of its plants and will be forced to close their other two plants, Tringent 1 and Tringent 2, affecting hundreds of workers.
He wants citizens to get a fair share of the pie.
We believe this is absolutely necessary to ensure that our fragile economy is not further damaged by this new pricing formula and that our people benefit from the resources of our land.
He says the union is respectfully awaiting a response, but they are not willing to let this issue slide. Stacey-Ann Providence, TTT News.
The Guyana Elections Commission, GECOM, is yet to release any significant results from Monday's general elections. GECOM held a press conference on Tuesday to appraise the public. Gordon Mosley of News Source Guyana has that story.
One day after the close of polls, the Guyana Elections Commission is still to release any significant results from yesterday's elections. The commission called a press conference at noon today, and up to that time it had only completed the tabulation process for 5.9% of the total number of statements of poll. The Chief Elections Officer, Keith Lowenfield, said the statements of poll have been coming in from the regions, but there have been some issues with the statements being sent in a timely manner from some areas.
That barring the hinterland districts which are still receiving the statements, and I dare say the web is very treacherous in region 8 as we speak, we would have had a declaration of all coastal areas. That is to say, regions 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 10.
Lowenfield made it clear that the Elections Commission was in no position to present official results today, and he's hoping that those official results will be presented at the earliest possible time.
As far as the official results by GCOM today, I know that will not be possible. Today, I expect that the declarations of all the ROs within the districts will be done. So my expectation, or the Commission's expectation, is that today on E+1, the returning officers, notwithstanding the geography of their respective districts, will be completing their verifications, as I said, and move to declare their results today.
That earliest possible time is likely to be sometime late on Wednesday or even possibly Thursday. Mr. Lowenfield also believes citizens need to be patient with the Elections Commission as it does its work. He explained that there is a lot of work and procedures that have to be followed in the tabulation of the results, and he noted some challenges. The Chief Elections Officer said there was one case where the presiding officer logged the statement of poll in the ballot box, and that should not have taken place. A process now has to be initiated to retrieve that statement of poll. And on the issue of voter turnout, the Chief Elections Officer said that information would be based on the statements of poll that are being tabulated. He noted that the official results will come from the Guyana Elections Commission only, and persons should be wary of fake news. He also brushed aside reports of one party claiming victory in Trinidad and Tobago.
In sports, we're on the pitch with football, as Jamaica's under-20 Reggae Girls will seek to extend their stay at the CONCACAF Championship when they face host nation Dominican Republic on Wednesday at the Estadio Panamericano in Cristobal. The Jamaicans have already racked up 20 goals on their way to the last 8 and are led by their captain Jody Brown, who is joint second on the goal-scoring chart with 8. The winner of Jamaica versus the Dominican Republic tie will face the winner of the Canada versus United States encounter in the semi-final round. In the day's other quarter-final games, Haiti face Guyana, while Mexico are up against Trinidad and Tobago, with the winner set to face off in the other semi-final. The 2 finalists in the championship will join hosts Costa Rica and Panama in the 2020 FIFA Women's Under-20 World Cup in July. And that's the news on PBCJ. Thanks so much for watching.